Support for First Coast Connect is provided in part by Baptist Health and North Florida TPO.
Good morning, I'm Ann Schindler, and this is First Coast Connect. Today, it's been a hot week in City Hall, and not just because it's September in Jacksonville. We ask the mayor about it and take your calls and questions on our monthly Ask the Mayor segment. Later in the program, a night of storytelling, community, and great R&B, soul, and hip-hop. We'll tell you about a live stage performance of Mr. Al Pete's Neighborhood. But first, we are joined, as we are each month, by Jacksonville Mayor Donna Deegan. Good morning, Mayor.
Good morning, Ann.
Mayor Deegan joins the program each month to discuss the headlines and to take your calls and questions. You can reach us at 904-549-2937. You can also email firstcoastconnect@wjct.org or reach out on social media. Mayor, I do want to get to the budget, which really is kind of the big headline this week, but I just wanted to take a minute to ask you about the killing of Charlie Kirk yesterday. Obviously, a shocking and really awful incident. Today's also 9/11. I just kind of wondering what you're thinking these days in such a kind of acrimonious world.
Well, we were talking earlier this morning. I am very down about it. I don't know how much worse things can get when we're doing these things to each other. I mean, it's got to stop. The violence has to stop. It's just got to stop. And I know people, look at the things that I say, and I'm always talking about love over fear. But here's, at the end of the day, if we don't start seeing each other's humanity, I don't care if we agree or disagree with people. We've got to start seeing each other's humanity and at the very least recognize that violence is only going to take us down a bad path. So, I mean, I put out a statement yesterday. That happened. We had another school shooting yesterday where a bunch of kids were shot. And it just feels like it becomes fuel for political hatred on both sides. And somebody's got to step back from the brink on this. It is, I get up every morning and I watch the sunrise. And in addition to the fact that today is 9/11 and I always reflect on that horrible tragedy, I am just frankly just left feeling like people, I'm not trying to be preachy. I swear I'm not. We've got to start having more love for each other as just fellow humans, and not do these violent things to each other. I mean, I'm heartbroken that this has happened. It's horrible that this is where we are. And to see, people going back and forth politically at each other on this, they're your fault, it's your fault. It's all of us have got to step back from this political violence and recognize that this can only lead to worse things. Nothing is going to get better unless we can step back from hate. I mean, that's it.
It does seem like it would be nice to just sort of turn the volume down after something happens, to not necessarily have it instantly become a whole other toxic.
That's the problem with social media, Ann. I mean, everybody just gets everybody else all frothed up and upset, and and everyone feels justified in their feelings. At the end of the day, it hurts all of us. And anybody who would be celebrating this or any violence needs to look into their hearts and say, wait a minute, what is happening here?
Mm-hmm.
What is happening to me? What is happening to us? I'm sorry. I know that's a long tirade, but when I came in here this morning, I was honestly just thinking, I don't even know what's going to come out of my mouth today, because I'm just so saddened by the whole thing. I don't know what to say about it anymore. We got to keep going, but it's the message of love over fear is more important than ever. And people can think whatever they want to think about that. This whole zero-sum political conversation, political violence has to just end on both sides. Has to end.
Yeah.
All sides. I shouldn't even say both sides. All sides.
Yeah, all sides is true. So I will move on now to kind of
told you.
Yeah. I mean, so it's been a difficult week for city dialogue,
Mm-hmm.
I will say. And that began Tuesday. I mean, it didn't begin, but it manifested Tuesday at a very contentious city council meeting where we had both innumerable votes, a lot of personal attacks, I think it's fair to say. on all sides.
Yeah.
We had a walkout by 4 city council members who left in protest. So it was very, very hot. And it ended with a tentative vote on the millage rate that you prefer for your budget. It ended with your budget bill passing. But again, this is not the final vote.
Not at all. No.
So we're now looking to the 23rd.
Mhm.
What do you think is going to happen? Let's start with the millage rate, because that is one element of a very contentious budget discussion. The other is sort of all of these DEI restrictions.
Well, they're both extraordinarily contentious,
Mhm.
um, and both damaging in their own ways. I have said repeatedly, and will repeat as many times as anyone will listen to me, and I do in these town halls. I have never raised taxes since I have been in this office. I have lived within the current millage rate, which is already by far the lowest millage rate of any major city in the state of Florida. And we have a growing city, which means we have growing needs, infrastructure needs, needs of health and well-being, blight, you name it. I mean, this city is growing, and unless we're just going to throw up our hands and say, well, it's growing, but we're just going to keep cutting our ability to deal with that, then that is what I would call fiscally irresponsible. So I'm going to continue to say we can live with the millage rate that we have. We start cutting the millage rate that would give the average person back about $1.50 a month, but would cost the city millions in services that we could provide, is a not wise move and extraordinarily short-sighted at the very least, and in my mind, simply a political move.
You've been able to win some converts to that position, some very powerful groups, including the Civic Council, police and fire unions. And I guess, first of all, I'm curious what those conversations have been like,
Yeah.
the support that they've offered, and whether or why so far those groups' opposition to rolling back the millage rate has not necessarily swayed the council members who say that they respect both of those organizations.
Well, I can tell you this. There has been a great deal of private pressure from those organizations for some time. I was very grateful to see both of them had the courage to come out and publicly say, this is damaging to us. This will not only damage public safety, but will damage other cities' quality of life issues that we also care about. It takes all of us to speak out and say, look, I understand why it's popular to say you want to lower the millage rate. It's going to, first of all, half of our people are renters, and they won't get anything back from this. The other half, if you're a very wealthy person and you own $1 million house, you're going to get more money back, but still not a crazy amount of money. Our homestead has increased over the years, homestead exemption, and then also it's capped. The increases are capped at 3%. So people already have safeguards. But it's inspiring to me to see our police and fire and our civic council come out and say, we have to be honest and say, while this may poll well, it's really not going to help you, and it's not going to help our city. And I hope that at the end of the day, as we get to the 23rd, that council people will take that into consideration.
Somebody would have to change their vote.
Yeah.
Do you have any sense as to, I mean, people seem really dug in on this issue.
Well,
Do you see anybody that might change their vote and be persuaded to your side?
Look, you just never know. But we have to continue to try. I said this, last week when people said this seems like a done deal on the first vote. I think you heard some people say, "Oh, we've already got 10 votes. We're going to pass it out, tonight." Well, that didn't happen, did it? Didn't happen.
10 votes for
the to pass it out on the first night. On the night that we just what night did we just finish? Did we just pass Tuesday night?
Tuesday, but you're saying votes for the rollback or votes for keeping the millage rate as is?
I think the prediction was that millage reduction was going to go in on Tuesday.
Okay.
It didn't. And so I have to hope that that's because some people are starting to think twice about, is this really the smart thing to do? Look, I have done, since I have come into this office, I have worked very hard to have a positive relationship with this council. And I've told anybody that asks me about it, it always is going to go in a wave, up and down. And whenever we're in budget season, it's going to be contentious. And that's just how it is. We all have to stake out the positions that we think are best for the city. But this is one of those things that really I think people are very close to evenly divided on. I'm going to continue to press my case. I suspect they will too, and we'll see how it all turns out on the 23rd. But I'm hopeful that when we have people like police and fire and the civic council, which is made of all kinds of folks, and frankly, I will tell you this, Ann. Here's the other thing: I've had 2 town halls so far. I've got another one tonight. We always get accused of bringing people to these council meetings to talk. We haven't done that. This has all been grassroots. Every person that has spoken at our city hall, at our public town hall meetings so far, has either been for this or has talked about something else. We have had nobody that has come out and said, "I'm for this millage reduction." Everybody has said, "Keep my dollar. I want the services." I think it's a very widespread feeling in this city that we've seen this movie before. We've seen what happens when we take this short-sighted look at shopping, and then we get to some sort of a fiscal cliff, and we can't pick up our own garbage, or we can't pay for police and fire, or we can't do the things that we need to do. I don't want to go backwards. I want to go forward. That's the message that I'm giving to people. We have finally got momentum in this city. Let's keep going forward. I'm not talking about raising taxes. We aren't raising taxes. We're simply leaving them where they are.
If you're just joining us, I'm talking to Jacksonville Mayor Donna Deegan. She is joining us for our monthly Ask the Mayor segment, and you're welcome to join our conversation. You can call us at 904-549-2937 or email firstcoastconnect at WJCT.org. You can also reach out on Facebook, Instagram, or X at FCC On Air. So I do want to take a listen into some of that meeting because, as we said, part of the discussion is on millage rate. Should it be reduced? Should it be maintained? The other is whether a layer of additional requirements should be placed on the budget, which would prevent spending on specifically DEI in matters, abortion and
Immigration.
So Rory Diamond is the architect of that particular amendment. Let's listen to what he had to say at that meeting.
It literally says we are not going to be racist. We're not going to spend money on treating people different based on their race, their gender, or who they go home to. That's what it says. It says we will not be racist. Instead, I get called racist. I didn't throw out any names. I didn't hear any substantive arguments against this. Give me one good reason why we should spend $1 because we like one race or one gender more than another. I don't think we should.
That is the biggest bunch of gaslighting I've ever heard. I mean, it is so clear that we have federal and state laws that already cover everything. We don't spend money. We said this when the immigration bill that he put out last time was vetoed and upheld. We said, first of all, this isn't a local issue, shouldn't happen, and it's already in every contract we have that we can't spend money with you if you are not legal. I mean, it's a straw man argument. I mean, would Roy pretend that the civil rights movement never happened and that moved us forward to where everybody was seen as equal? I mean, it is his. What I would argue back to him is exactly what I argued when his initial bill was presented, and that is, you tell me who this bill benefits. Who does it benefit? You saw with all the emotion on that dais that night that a lot of people were very offended and upset and worried, and it would put a lot of nonprofits in a bad position. What if somebody calls the suicide hotline? Is the person on the other side of that suicide hotline that we fund supposed to say, before I can answer your question, are you illegal? I mean, this puts so many people in a precarious situation when frankly there are federal and state laws that already cover everything he's talking about here. It doesn't make any sense to do this. It doesn't benefit anybody. It makes people afraid. It makes people vulnerable in terms of our nonprofit community. And it is all simply a match to light a flame. That is all it is. And I've said this before, but I don't know what has happened to this council person that I knew years ago that seemed so reasonable. But everything he does now seems to be focused towards stoking culture wars that we really don't need to have as part of our city government. I think you heard Councilman Johnson say, look, we're not supposed to be doing this type of thing in our budget. if he feels so convicted that this stuff needs to go, then present it as regular legislation. It doesn't need to go into our budget. We don't spend a dollar on the things he's talking about anyway.
Well, he did present it as regular legislation.
And guess what happened to it? What happened to it, Ann?
It failed.
It failed, and that's why he doesn't want to do it that way. He's a bully, and I'm really, really tired of how he puts all of us through so much. We're trying to bring this city together, and he seems to be doing everything to try to divide it. And I am exhausted with it, frankly. And I know a lot of people are. But look, it's his right to say and do what he wants to do. And I just hope that that at some point he sees that this is not helpful.
We should say we have invited Councilmember Rory Diamond on the program. We haven't heard back from him on that request. We've got a call from Susan in Mandarin. Good morning, Susan. Go ahead.
Yes, I saw a video of the expansion of the South Coast Riverwalk and all these really cool parks, and I was wondering if that was going to be open to the public during the sip and stroll on the 18th, because I'd really like to walk down there. It looks really cool, and I really love it that you're trying to make our city beautiful with all the parks.
Thanks, Susan.
Well, thank you, Susan. If she's talking about the North Bank, that's not going to be open till the end. The Riverfront Plaza won't be open till the end of the year. There's part of the South Bank.
I think she was talking about by the school board building, that area.
Yeah. I should know this, Susan, but I'm not sure what area exactly we're talking about, whether it'll be open.
If I had to, well, we can bring her back in, but I think that what she's talking about is that area where you've been building all those new parks past the school board, where that new development is going to be, used to be called Healthy Town.
Used to be called Healthy Town. Now it's called River's Edge or
Right.
something like that. I can't remember, but I don't know how far down that is open is what I'm trying to say. So I wish I could, I should know that, and I don't know it off the top of my head. We'll find out.
All right. Very good. We've got a message from Lynella on Facebook. She says, more of our city council members need to meet the people in the community who have the highest needs. Too many rub shoulders with wealthy donors and constituents, but not actual people who struggle and are most impacted by these bad votes. Our seniors have been priced out of housing by massive investor takeovers of rental inventory. You know, I know that one thing that your administration has been looking at is if for instance, these DEI and abortion and immigration restrictions were laid upon the budget, whether legally that is something that would withstand scrutiny. Because as Councilmember Ken Amaro pointed out, you know, there's nothing in the budget. There's no line item for abortion. There's no line item for immigration spending. And so to kind of put a layer on top of a financial document, I think the question is whether legally that passes muster.
Yeah, I think we're still asking all those questions. We've sent a list of questions to the general counsel to give us a response to what are the options there. Is it permissible? And if it is permissible, what are my options in terms of what I could do with a line item or whatever? I'm not sure yet. But Ken is perfectly right. I know he used the word irrelevant. I can't remember the three words he used, but I thought he stated the case brilliantly. It's just it is simply intended to be a polarizing element for us. That is it. And you heard on that dais how much it offended so many people on that council. What is the purpose? When there's no budgetary line item tied to any of those things, what is the purpose of including that beyond the fact that you're too much of a coward to try to bring them through the legislative process because you know they won't withstand muster? That's really, at the end of the day, I'm going to have my way. You know, you heard him at the end of that council meeting, but it is absolutely astounding to me how much energy he puts into things that really don't have anything to do with the quality of life and well-being of the people at the beaches that he serves.
We've got a call from Don, who lives at the beaches. Good morning, Don. Go ahead.
Good morning. I want to thank you very much for bringing Diamond into the spotlight and exposing him. He's a totally irresponsible representative from the beaches. I have called him several times. I've sent him emails. No responses whatsoever. He's grandstanding. He has designs on moving up in the Republican Party. That is all he is about. Anytime he can get in front of that camera, he does it. That's all there is to it. Thank you for letting me comment.
Don, thanks for your call. We
Thank you,
also
Don.
have a call from Nancy in Atlantic Beach. Good morning, Nancy. Go ahead.
Good morning, Ann and Mayor. I'm a little concerned about something that I heard Donna say, but I'll go first to Mr. Diamond. Many people who voted for him, at least people that I talked to, are well aware that what he's trying to do is pave his way to Tallahassee. So I don't think that's going to happen with him. So the longer he keeps moving like this, I think he's losing rather than gaining votes. My second comment is how the mayor has to fight against the council president, who actually was on television one night, and it was a while ago, saying, "You think that's going to happen?" "No, Donna, that's not going to happen." He said it 3 times. "No, Donna." And I thought, how old are you, and whoever in the Republican Party put you in this position? And now I heard Donna say that I don't know whether she said exhausted or something, and that's what I was afraid. She's not going to. I know that, but I was afraid that it was going to get her down from her usual ebullient endeavors when she's taking care of the city.
Well,
so that's
Nancy,
my comment, and I'll go ahead.
Listen, don't worry about that. We all have our moments, right? And I think that this whole shooting mess and everything else, all of it can get you to the point where you become. When I say I'm exhausted with it, I mean I'm irritated by it. I am so focused on moving this city forward, and I am frankly just tired of folks who spend more time trying to buoy their political prospects than work for the people they were elected to work for. I'm not saying that I don't have. That we don't have some true ideological differences. I'm sure we do. And I'm not saying they don't love their city. What I'm saying is focus, folks. We've got a lot of needs in this city, and we need to move it forward, and we have been moving it forward. So when you hear me say I'm exhausted with it, that's my way of saying I am sick and tired of it. I'm not going anywhere. So don't worry about that.
Okay. And thank God you're not. All right. Work on those people who will listen to you instead of the others who are fighting for their own political great gains.
Well, I'm really glad. I'm glad to hear you bring that up, because that was a very bipartisan coalition of folks that stopped those efforts the other night. Very bipartisan. Yes. You had several Republicans who joined us in that. So I don't. You know me. I don't ever divide anything into party in this city. I say once we're elected, we're all Team Jacksonville, and it is gratifying to me to see that we have people on that council that have said, you know what, we're gonna behave like that. We're gonna be Team Jacksonville, and that's all I've ever asked of anybody over there. We can disagree all day long. Let's just work on the things that we can work on together and move the city forward.
All right, we've got a call from Stephanie in Murray Hill. Good morning, Stephanie. Go ahead.
Good morning. I just wanted to call in and express my support for Mayor Deegan. I'm going to age both of us and say I've been watching you on the news and as a personality in Jacksonville my whole life. I'm 41 years old, born and raised in Jacksonville, and I love the fact that we have journalists like yourself and Ken Amaro involved in local politics, because you guys really know the city, and you've known the city and embroiled yourself in different levels and aspects and all levels of our society that we have here. And I feel like that gives you a level of information that most more politically minded people don't have. And I also just want to say thank you so much for standing with certain city council members. I know you said you don't like to divide things by party, but there are clearly elements that want to support an imperial executive, but also at the same time want to take your power as mayor away. And we, as Jacksonvillians, voted for you because we saw real change and real opportunity. And it's unfortunate that the city council thinks that they should just undermine that. And also, I look forward to voting for you again. Thank you so much for what you've done. Not a fan of the stadium deal, but all in all, I really know that you want the best for our city and all the people in it. And I just wanted to give you my support.
Thank you so much. That's very kind.
Thanks for the call, Stephanie. We have a message from Jim on Facebook saying increasing property value doesn't happen in a vacuum. The city needs to invest in the place where your house is. A city run on the cheap devalues property and revenue. Also, Mike on Facebook saying the Northside Coalition has called for a fulfilled promises dashboard to track our progress on meeting the broken infrastructure promises of consolidation. You said you liked the idea previously. Has there been any progress on the idea of this dashboard?
You know what? I'll check on it. I know that I took that back and said I really like that idea because we actually we do keep track of that. What are we doing? Like the fact that we've taken the projects in the capital improvement plan in some of those areas and moved them to the top of the list. There are things that we have done specifically to try to make sure that we are keeping those promises. And I told the folks that do the dashboards that I would like to start looking at that. I know we're developing several more dashboards. I'm not sure where we are on that one, but I promise you I'll check on it.
Stephanie mentioned voting for you again. And I'm curious because you're the former office holder, Mayor Lenny Curry, has been very vocal, particularly on this tax issue, but he's sort of, back in the frame of Jacksonville city politics.
Yeah, he's a lobbyist now, so he does have an opportunity to push certain things for the lobbying firm that he works for, but he does spend a lot of time in our business these days, for sure.
Yeah, and we've also invited him to come on the program, so hopefully he'll take us up on that. He said he's not running for mayor, but I'm just curious what your feeling is about him taking such a vocal role in the current conversation.
Well, look, I think that Mayor Curry and I fundamentally have a different view of when I always talk about being Team Jacksonville. I think he is one of those folks, as are a lot of people, that considers the party to be extraordinarily important, and he was a party boss when he came into office. I think in many ways he has not lost that mentality, and a lot of people feel that way. But I would simply say that the other former living mayors that I continue to have a constant and open dialogue with, who've been very supportive of me and my administration, two of which are Republicans.
And you're referring to Mayor John Payton and Mayor John
Delaney.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, Mayor Payton has gone a long way to try to he's signed that civic council letter, saying that we shouldn't lower the millage rate. I would say they work on solutions with me. Mayor Curry seems to, from the day that I have come into office, been working to try to draw a sharp contrast with this administration, and that is his right. He can do that if he wants to. I would simply say it's not always helpful, but as I said before, it's entirely up to him how he wants to spend his time and energy.
I want to ask you about something that I thought was really interesting this week, and it's a discussion of incentives for sort of an atypical incentives project, specifically a surf park on the south side of Jacksonville, kind of very much in the suburban landscape of E-Town.
Yeah.
What's the consideration? What's the thought process there behind thinking that some city money might incentivize and help this company, get this project done?
Yeah, if I'm remembering correctly, I will say that I think that's a rev grant they're asking for, right? So we're really just talking about
which is a
taxes
tax
that are returned,
Mm-hmm.
that basically aren't paid for a period of time to make a project successful.
Yeah,
So
this would be a 75% tax rebate for 10 years.
yeah, so we do those quite often. I think where we've started to become more concerned is all this money that if cash incentives become a problem. But I think this sort of thing for something that could really be quite an attraction for our area, I think is something that we've shown some support for, and I think it's going to go before council in a few weeks. But it sounds very interesting and like it could be a big tourist draw.
I mean, it does sound like it would be interesting. It would be the first one of these surf parks. It's kind of a wave generating park in Florida. It would be one of the first in the country. And, the people who are building it say it would create, 100 jobs or something like that. But it is not in the typical template that we see, which is downtown development or targeted industries that are usually, kind of finance or manufacturing. So it might require some additional powers of persuasion. I don't know, to have something like this get approved.
Yeah. Well, look, I think we're looking for ways to attract people to want to visit our city, in addition to the fact that we want our young people to stay. And I just think it's a very unique opportunity to have something that other people might want to come and take advantage of. So I think it's something we need to look at. Obviously, a lot of my focus has been on the areas that have been disinvested and in our downtown, but it doesn't mean that we don't want to do whatever we can to increase economic viability in all of Jacksonville.
All right. Well, Mayor Deegan, thanks for coming on. Appreciate you talking about some difficult subjects, but and it's always good to have you.
Thanks, Ann. It feels like every time I come here lately, something crazy has happened, but that's the world we live in, I guess. But thanks for having me.
It is. All right. Up next, the peacemakers of a different sort. We talked to the organizers of the upcoming Quiltfest. Welcome back. Well, since 1987, local quilt makers have held an annual showcase to celebrate both the traditional and modern versions of the craft. Here to tell us about it is Allison McConaughey, chair of Quiltfest Jacksonville. Good morning, Allison. We're also joined by Janice Turecki, the event's community service chair. Good morning, Janice.
Good morning.
And Randy Powers with All-Star Quilters Guild. Good morning, Randy.
Good morning.
So, Randy, I'm just going to start with you because, I don't know that you fit my idea of a traditional quilter. I'm not necessarily deep into the world of quilting, but I think we have this idea of who's a quilter and who's not. And you are in this world. How did you get involved?
My father was a coal miner in the state of West Virginia, and he developed emphysema and black lung, and he had to retire early medically. And there was 7 children in the house, and my mother made quilts, and I helped my mother.
Wow. That's a fascinating backstory. And how old were you when you began?
I was like 9 years old.
Okay.
And this was the story. I graduated from high school, and my friends did not even know I quilted because it was not popular for guys to sew.
Sure. And were you immediately skillful at it?
My mother worked with me because, she did the quilting, and I basically designed the quilt patterns and made patterns for her.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of our patterns came from coloring books.
Yeah. Allison, let's just define kind of what is a quilt.
Well, typically it's kind of that sandwich where you have the back and you've got the batting in the middle and you've got some kind of top that's been pieced on top. So we use the word quilt for a lot of different things. We say, I'm quilting, and you're really just piecing the fabric pieces together.
Batting is like the stuffing that makes it fluffy.
Yeah. And then we say it's quilting when you actually, the sewed lines that are going over that are actually connecting those 3.
And so obviously Randy is sort of a traditional, perhaps, quilter, but describe to us the community of people who are involved in quilting.
It's people younger than me, people much older. I mean, that's what we typically think about with the community of quilters is an older generation, but it's a lot more younger now. I think millennials especially.
What appeals to people who are coming into it?
It's just a good, cozy hobby. You do it on your own schedule, do it on your own time, and then you have this tangible thing afterwards, and you could have it for yourself or gift it.
How does it compare in terms of like degree of difficulty when it comes to other things like knitting or, like what do you call the rug
crochet?
Yeah, any of that stuff.
I think it's as difficult as you want to make it. You could just be doing straight lines, and you can make beautiful things out of just straight lines every day. You could get into art quilting where you're putting tiny little pieces of fabric together and learning the long arm and all these technical things. It's as easy or complicated as you want it to be.
So people watching our live stream, they'll be able to see some of these quilts. They are really extraordinarily beautiful. They are very detailed. They're really colorful. Janice, you handle the community service aspect of 7 guilds in this area, 7 quilting guilds. And for the upcoming Quiltfest, you kind of oversee the community service element. How important is that charitable function for this annual event?
Very important.
Mm-hmm.
I think I believe that most people have that community service inside them somewhere that they want to give. And it's difficult to figure out how to do that because each of us has our own likes. We all have our own talents. So whenever you give something to the community, whether it be local or whether it be international, it sort of fills that little desire we have in us. It's very important.
And so the charities specifically this year that you've chosen are Quigley House and Betty Griffin House, which are both resources for people who have been victimized by domestic violence. But the charities that the various guilds service, have a really broad footprint. And I'm curious what it is about, quilts. I mean, a lot of the ones that you make and manufacture and that you brought in today are to help people who are going through some sort of crisis, whether it's a medical issue that they're having or some sort of loss that they've suffered. What is it about a quilt in particular that is comforting?
The warmth. Also, too, knowing that whoever made that quilt put love in it and wanted to give it to help whatever you were going through, that particular person is going through. It's very comforting.
You also make things that are very specific to need. One of the items that you brought in today is built specifically to help people with like a drainage port after surgery, which is a very specific, item. It's a way to kind of hide what they've got to carry around with them. So how do those ideas percolate up?
Needs. Like in our guild, we saw that there were women who were going through breast cancer surgeries, and they, instead of hanging it around their neck, which is very cumbersome, we decided that one lady in our guild said, hey, we can make these aprons, and they can hide it under their blouses, and they can go wherever they want to, and no one will know that they've got a port in them.
Yeah.
So need.
Ingenious. I want to ask you, Randy, because you do a quilt benefit for veterans groups. Tell us about that kind of beneficiary, that organization, and why it is that, kind of the same thing I was asking Janice, but what it is about a quilt that conveys kind of additional meaning.
Ma'am, I just did a ceremony in the state of West Virginia, and I presented 8 veterans with quilts, and they had altars on both sides of the church. And when I went in just a little bit early and I laid the quilts out on the altar, it electrified the atmosphere. And there was such a level of excitement to this because a lot of our veterans come back, they don't feel like they've done anything. And especially our Vietnam veterans, when they came home, they had no recognition. And the tears, when you work with these people, the tears, they just are so grateful that we work with them. And you're talking about the quilts, there's such an art that goes into these. And even some of the simple quilts, but some of the quilts they're getting into is like with the modern quilts and different things, there's such an art that goes into these quilts. And the colors in them really speak to their heart.
Yeah.
The colors are just so vivid for them, and it's amazing what it does to warm their heart. You can go in and say words, and you can say thank you, and the thank you doesn't seem like it's enough. But when you present them a beautiful quilt, it solidifies. You're grateful to them. And this is something they can carry with them. And I've worked with children before, too, with terminally ill children. And when these families get these quilts, they bond with these quilts. I made one quilt for a family. They didn't think the child would make it. And it was, they had the child for 2 years and the child passed away. And I got the note back, said, we would never destroy or get rid of this quilt because this is our child. We can hold our child every day in memory of them, So the art and the colors, it's amazing what it does for them.
Yeah, it's so powerful to be able to kind of be a part of somebody's process and their life like that. The artistry of quilts really has been getting additional recognition. I mean, last year we did a segment on the Comer, which had this amazing American arts quilt exhibit, which just really elaborate stuff. Is the stuff that you present on that level in some cases? Does it get that complex?
Yes.
Yeah.
It's on that level. But at Quiltfest itself, I mean, you'll see everything from someone's very first quilt that they've ever made, and they're just excited to put it in and show it. And you'll see people that have done this for 20 years, and it's just a masterpiece. That absolutely. Some of the quilts that were at Quiltfest last year, they do go to different museums and shows around.
Wow.
That our creators are asked around.
So there are, for people who go, there's some very interesting hands-on stuff that they can do. First of all, there is a sewing segment where people can actually try their hand at making a quilt. And there's also an opportunity for people who have quilts that may have been in the family for a really long time to bring them in and get them appraised, which I think is very interesting. So talk a little bit about those two things that are available. This is, a family event, obviously people can come to, but there's some things that they really might get something out of.
Yeah. Our judge, all of the quilts that go in, they're judged and there's prizes, but that judge then is at the show and you can pay for her to appraise the quilt. And I mean, if you want to sell it or you just curious, but she's certified and she does all the appraising, and I think that's really cool that you can have an idea of the value, because we don't see that a lot. You put all the money to the fabric and the time and everything, but the value that comes out of that art piece is totally different than what you
Do you think that people who are able to try their hand at it are instant converts? Is it something that is appealing to young people when they're able to see that they can create this, or is the level of difficulty something that they have to really get beyond?
I don't think it's difficulty. I think it's just time.
Mm-hmm.
And if you want to put the time. When I first started, I very rarely had time raising a toddler and working, right? So kitchen table with a sewing machine, I made a quilt maybe once a year, right? Or one a year. And now I can do a lot more. So whatever you want to put your time on and hobbies and everything, that's all it is. Yeah.
And Janice, so there's going to be a number of quilts on display, more than a couple hundred?
Oh, 400.
Yeah, like 400.
About 400,
Okay.
yeah, if not more.
And then there's at least one per guild that's on auction. Is that right?
Yes. You can go to the Quilt Guild tables up front, and each Quilt Guild will go ahead and give you an idea of what they do in their particular guild and what community service they do in their particular guild, and then they'll have the quilt up in the back, and you can purchase a chance for that opportunity quilt if you'd like.
And I was surprised to see that there's actually 7 sister guilds in this area. So which one's best?
Modern.
Friendship.
I guess you're going to come at it with different perspectives.
A lot of people join multiple guilds because they all offer different things.
And do you kind of get together and do quilting together, or is it something you do on your own and then just kind of get together and socialize?
Both. The meetings are more focused on what's going on, what are we doing, let's convey that information and be together. But we do have sit and sew days. Most every guild has that, where a specific day that you can bring your stuff and come. And so a lot of guilds put on retreats where we all get together. And so people, quilting is so communal. It's impossible to not want to get together at some point.
And the theme this year is color. And so I'm guessing there's really going to be some arresting and kind of eye-popping designs to check out.
Eye candy.
Eye candy. All right. Excellent. Well, Quiltfest Jacksonville is September 18th and 19th from 9 to 5. It's September 20th from 9 to 4, and it's at the Prime Osborne.
Yeah.
So information's available at quiltfestjacks.com. Randy Powers, Janice Turecki, Allison McConaughey, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you.
All right. Appreciate it. Up next, lace up your shoes. We explore a special live edition of The Neighborhood with Mr. Al Pete.
Let's talk trees. Northeast Florida is losing tree cover, according to a recent state report. Join us September 17th for Adapt State of the Canopy, a discussion with local officials about their response to the report. Register to join us for this free event at wjct.org/events.
Want to stay on top of what's happening on the First Coast on your schedule? WJCT News Now delivers the morning report every weekday covering big local stories, plus health news made simple, behind-the-scenes reporting, and community stories all as podcasts you can play anytime. You'll also get a newsletter with new and popular podcast recommendations. Help keep local public media strong. Start your free trial at wjct.org/newsnow.
Joseph Stalin was a ruthless Soviet dictator who embraced quack science, manipulated the media, consolidated personal power, and developed an enormous cult of personality. President Trump and Stalin are different men from different times and countries, but there are enough nagging similarities that some wonder, what lessons should Americans learn from Stalinism now? That's on the next On Point.
Today at 11 on WJCT News 89.9.
Telehealth abortion could soon be headed to the Supreme Court. Attorneys general in Texas and Louisiana sued a New York doctor for virtually prescribing abortion pills to people in their states where abortion is almost completely banned. New York is fighting back. What the latest legal battle means for abortion rights next time on 1A.
Today, starting at 10 on WJCT News 89.9.
The neighborhood, Mr. Al Pete, WJCT News 89.9. Hopefully you enjoyed the music. We are at the end of the walk.
Welcome back. Well, that is the dulcet voice of my next guest, a.k.a. your favorite neighbor, Mr. Al Pete. Al, welcome back.
Good morning. How you doing?
It's great to see you. So we wanted to have you come on because you're doing a special live event of the neighborhood with Mr. Al Pete. It's going to be a live taping of the show. People can sort of see the magic behind the Saturday night hour-long program. What just made you decide to take it live?
Oh man, I thought it would be an opportunity to reach out to the neighbors that listen to me, the people that I know, and I want to say more so, but the people that I don't know. There are a lot of people that listen to the show that I have no clue who they are. So I think it'd be great for them to come in and kind of actually see the person and be in the live experience of it. So I'm looking forward to meeting the people that listen to the show that I haven't met before.
Because you have this sort of legion of fans that just love the program. They love the music. They love the vibe. And I know that you kind of get their support on social media, but but they're not. It's not like a show that they can call into. And so this is maybe an opportunity to have a more direct contact.
Absolutely. And plus it's a different angle for me. You know, most people know me for DJing and hip hop, rapping. So to see me illustrate myself in form of art in this manner, I think it's going to be good for everybody, even the people that know me. So definitely looking forward to it.
So you, you kind of stay out of the way of the music on the show. You really let the sounds take over, and you should, for people who haven't heard it, describe a little bit. I mean, your musical palette is really broad, but it's nice and it's mellow. It's a very kind of funky, cool. Listen on Saturday nights. What all do you put together?
So when I do the show, I imagine us walking in the neighborhood. I do that. So in the midst of that, I talk about the events that's going on in Jacksonville, possibly a concert or a favorite restaurant. But for the most part, I let the music breathe, and I want us to just kind of walk and glide as if somebody's walking through a neighborhood. So it starts off with us put your shoes on, tie 'em up, let's go through this journey.
Right, get your shoes ready.
For sure, yeah. So then I want people to really go through this musical experience and just kind of get into my mind, as well as a lot of the music that happens in Jacksonville that I want to share as well, the local artists here. And just really take people through that journey, just a typical walk through the park or walk through the neighborhood, and just have the essence and the elements of what it is when you're in a neighborhood. Whether you
what
sit
does
on the
it mean
porch
to you?
or-
What is a neighborhood? How do you define your neighborhood that you present on air?
It's community. That's the one thing. It's just a massive form of community. You have these different elements of community, whether you have the corner store or you have the corner store house. Your friends that you grew up with, you get on a bike and ride with them. The aunties and uncles coming to the house and just sharing their information, whether it's from political stands all the way to the hottest funk song that came out. So it's all of that wrapped into one.
And you do present music from all kinds of eras. I mean, you do jazz, but you do classic R&B and soul. You do a lot of, kind of conscious hip hop and very modern stuff, a lot of local artists. And so is there a consistent vibe in there?
That's the consistent vibe for sure. And plus I don't get a chance to show show off the music that I love. I really love conscious hip hop and like the neo soul era, and it's so much music. And I got a very great love for jazz because I play alto sax, play the piano as well. So, and I grew up listening to that stuff, and it made me the music head that I am now. So, yeah, that's the connection.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so tomorrow's performance, it's here at WJCT Studios. It gets going, of course. Well, actually, it doesn't get going at 8 like your show. It gets going at 7:30, a little bit early.
Yeah, so the doors open at 7:30, but the show starts at 8, so it's
Okay.
from 8 to 9. So that's when the live show action or whatever. So people come in at 7:30, kind of get comfortable, that type of thing, and then 9 to 9:30 will be kind of like pictures and thank yous and stuff like that. But the actual show that you can listen to on WJCT will be from 8 to 9.
Okay. And after the show is taped for the Saturday night airing, are you going to have some opportunity to sort of interact with your audience?
Oh, absolutely.
Uh-huh.
I'm looking forward to that. Like I want to take pictures. I want all of that. And I brought in this thing that's going to be we're going to have gift bags. So I'm gonna just sign them so people can kind of keep them and keep them around and have the memory with them. So yeah.
All right. And so it's live on the air tomorrow night, and then you're also going to air it on
Saturday. Yep. Saturday at 8. Yep.
All right. It is a free event. People can go to wjct.org/events to get more information. But this is like under the Jacksonville Music Experience kind of label, and just one of many things that you all do on a regular basis. Al, what do you want to let people know before they head out?
So when you come, it's going to be a musical experience. I tell people like that. Think of it like you're going to an orchestra. You're coming in, you're sitting down or standing up, and you're actually listening to what the conductor is giving. Like you're going through that journey. You trust the conductor, and you can trust the band to take you through that experience. And I want people to come in and do the same aspect with that. Like it's not necessarily a party. It's not a party, but this is a art exhibition. And I want to be able to present that. So,
well, it's going to be fabulous. Al Pete, thanks for the work that you do. Thanks for being here today.
Thank you for having me.
All right. And that's our program. Thank you for listening. If you have comments, questions, or suggestions, you can send all of it to firstcoastconnect at wjct.org. And if you missed anything today, you can catch our rebroadcast at 8 o'clock tonight or find our entire archive on your favorite podcast platform. The executive producer of First Coast Connect is David Luckin. Our show is produced by Stacey Bennett. Our associate producer is Isabella Casapow. Our technical side, we usually have Brady Quorum in the seat, but for the next couple weeks, we're going to have Michelle Quorum and Andrew Wickman helping us out. And our theme music is performed by Club de Belugas. Join us tomorrow when we talk about the latest news with our panel of journalists.
Support for First Coast Connect is provided by Baptist Health and the North Florida TPO.
The North Florida TPO is dedicated to transportation planning, funding, clean fuels, and new technologies for a vibrant, resilient, and connected region. More information available at northfloridatpo.com. Baptist Health is a proud supporter of First Coast Connect. Baptist Health, committed to building a healthier community for all of us. More info at 202-4YOU or baptistjacks.com. Congaree & Penn, dedicated to agriculture and culinary endeavors, offering field